Today we are going to talk about a subject that is new to me, and I think I may be preaching to some of you in the choir that have already done production of specialty crops or animal products that are geared towards ethnic markets. So here we go. My name is James Thiuri. I am in Kankakee County right now. I'm a small farms educator. You got my name right there. So when I was asked to talk about this topic, the very first question I asked myself was, what's the difference between ethnicity and niche market? And reading through these definitions, I found out that ethnicity is more about a group of people who share a common tradition, maybe a religion or that kind of a thing. Steve Salt, who is in Missouri, defines that a niche or an ethnic group is one that practices its own distinctive customs and traditions, and most important for the market gardener, the diet or the cuisine. So that's an ethnic group. And then I kind of, out of interest, I thought, we always talk about production for a niche market. And a niche market could be an area, so to speak. Could be an area which is inhabited by people from Ethiopia or people from India, or it could be an area where the Indians have congregated and they are earning $60,000 plus minimum. So you have 60,000 to 100,000. That's a niche, as well as being an ethnic group as well. So there's lots of overlap here. But if you hear me going back and forth with niche and ethnicity, think, well, I'll probably be referring to the same thing over and over again. Then in the next slide, I got very amused by some of the things I saw when I read about American demographics over time. And I realized that at this moment in time, 25% of the population in the United States comprises of ethnic groups, what people might otherwise call minorities, people who have immigrated in recent times from India, from Africa, from Asia. So there's 25% of them right now, and by 2020, it's predicted to be 50%. That will probably make mainstream Americans equal to the ethnic groups or the minorities as they are called. And you see, in previous times, people migrating here used to come here to provide labor, non-skilled jobs and labor in the farms, but things are changing. They're going to school, those immigrants, and they're having larger families and enjoying higher incomes, so they're having a bigger influence in society. But beyond that, look at the combined income of the minorities, so to speak. $600 billion in 1997, that's way back, quite a little ways back. Maybe it's $1 trillion now. But the take-home message here is that heterogeneous populations and the American society, and that includes Canada, is the most heterogeneous group of people in the world. But they ought not to be taken as a homogeneous market. And we'll be seeing this in a little while, why that is so. And the economy should be moving from something that is product-driven. You don't just go around selling pizza to everyone. You got to be customer-focused. What does that person eat or want? What is the need they have? And then from time to time, you'll be seeing some pictures that I have put in this slide, and I'll make a comment as I go along. What I have there is pepper, and 2 weeks ago, I confronted a lady from Puerto Rico, and I started telling her about some of the hottest peppers. And when I talk to you and talk about hotness, you know what I mean. But she went on to say, what's the flavor like? I said, oh, it's the hottest pepper around that you can eat. I was talking about the scorpion pepper at that moment in time, or the ghost pepper. She said, no, 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 no. I know about the hotness you're talking about. What's the flavor? And that just threw me off. Because I said to her, what does that mean? She said, some of them have a sweet flavor. I don't even know what that means. She's looking for pepper that has sweet flavor. Anybody out there who is ready to look for this sweet flavored pepper, there is market out there to an ethnic group. I learned that just by talking. A generation ago, let's say in the mid-1900s onwards and all that, minorities in this country did not matter. So if anybody talked about ethnic marketing then would have like said, huh? Really? What is this about ethnic marketing? Let everybody eat what we are eating. Let everybody get absorbed in our cuisine here. There's no issue. There's no business wondering, starting to incorporate these people. They're just going to join mainstream America and become part of us those days. And so diversity kept on increasing. Assimilation happened, but it wasn't 100% all the time, and indeed that 100% became less and less and less with time because immigrants came in more and more, and they retained their identity. And one tradition that was very, very, very closely guarded was the cuisine. They want to keep their food. And so the notion or the concept of a melting pot, everybody from the world coming to America and becoming American 100%, wasn't really so. It was a multi-ethnic mosaic. And so the numbers are growing. That has been shown, and I probably alluded it. Indeed, they say the number of Hispanics are going to outnumber white people by 2050. By far, because the numbers are increasing in big numbers. And the affluence, we just said, the more educated they become, the more money they earn, they have influence, and the affluence as well. So ethnic produce includes all those things you are seeing there, specialty crops, quite a good number, and I'll be giving examples as I go along, quite a whole lot of them. Remember that America has fewer than 5 traditional crops, very few. Indeed, most of them are just berries. Everything else has been brought in here, and more things are still coming in here. And so it's not surprising that ethnic produce sales and demand is growing at 5% per year. That's significant right there. Again, to illustrate the multi-ethnicity of America, think of a melting pot where you put everything in a pot and cook it together, and then you can't tell who is who in that soup. As opposed to having a salad, where you can pick out the carrots and you can pick out, that's what America is like right now. A very, very huge diversity, which indeed is the strength of America. The diversity is the strength of America, so to speak, in many ways. So what is marketing? When you market, you publicize, you're selling yourself. You're telling me you have pepper to sell, or you have carrots to sell, or you have sheep to sell. That's what you're telling me, and then you go ahead and give me the qualities of your produce and all that and all that. That's marketing in a general sense. When it comes to ethnic marketing, you don't just tell me what you have. You walk up to me and say, look, what do you need? What guts do you have? Or I have, like this lady now, I was telling about pepper, and I'm like, hey, I got this pepper that is this hot. And the first question is, what's the flavor? Right away, you establish a need. She can get all this pepper anywhere, but she doesn't get the flavor for one, the flavor she needs. So talk to people and do not assume. No more assumptions here. Talk to your customer. The picture there on the left is spider plant. And I'm from Kenya, and this group of women that live in Minnesota, Minneapolis, they love to eat spider plant. But the spider plant you have in this country isn't really the tasty one, the flavorful one. So what they did was to go ahead and apply to USDA for a permit to bring in seed of spider plant from Kenya. And now they have a community garden, and it's being sold there, and it is serving an ethnic need. And on the right-hand side, you can see the same plant sauteed and cooked and ready to eat. That's what it is. So there are opportunities out there. And then there's a whole lot of slides that are coming now about ethnic marketing. And we've already talked about America being a toast salad society as opposed to a melting pot, and the fact that you have to consider these differences. Then you need to do the three things that I illustrated here, that first of all, get to know that there is ethnic diversity and what's the level of ethnicity. And I can comment on the second one right here. Ethnicity gets diluted with time. Brand newcomers are fast level ethnicity, and they are very strong in their customs and traditions. We are the ones that we are told we have a heavy accent or a different accent. Well, let me correct that. Americans think foreigners have an accent. Everybody has an accent. Let me correct that. But they have a heavy accent. They are deep in their traditions, as opposed to second-generation Americans who will know their mother tongue because they live with their parents who speak a mother tongue from wherever, and they still have some of the traditions of the parents. But as they become ingrained in American society, the level of ethnicity and tradition gets diluted some. That has ramifications when you want to do marketing. You've got to consider what level it is you are dealing with. And of course, the third thing there is to develop and implement your ethnic marketing campaign, business plan, and how you get your foot in the door, so to speak. But we'll talk about that as I go along. Don't consider everybody the same. That's what is on the left-hand side there, what you need to avoid. And then the right-hand side there is about valuing the cultural uniqueness of your target group. And number two, valuing cooperation. That cannot be underemphasized. If you want to get into the Hispanic group, or if you want to get into the Asian group, make sure that you're partnering with them or cooperating or collaborating somehow. You don't just walk in there and start giving your story like a preacher. You know, you got to be cooperating with them, whether it's in the sales, whether it's in the marketing, whether it's in convincing people, advertising, all those things matter. Okay, again, don't consider immigrants as those poor people. And as we shall see in a little while, those poor people that you might be pitying may be just the ones who are willing to pay that much more to get what they really need. So don't assume anything. And then the right-hand side there, check that number two there, valuing linguistic differences, as well as the accents, so to speak. I've heard of somebody talking and saying, when you ask a Japanese businessman, what's the best language in the world? They're very quick to answer, the language of my customer. And they don't care how far they have to get to that customer with that language of theirs. They go to great lengths to make sure they do that. And then I'll be talking about value of word of mouth and interpersonal communication. One of the growers of specialty crops here in Kankakee or near Kankakee has had help from his farm manager, who is Hispanic, many, many, many times. There are times you just ran out of market and there are so many pepper plants in the field to harvest yet. And he's like, okay, this is good for compost. We can't harvest anymore. And the farm manager would just tell him, wait. And according to this grower, this farm manager knew every Hispanic restaurant between Champaign and Mexico, and nothing would be wasted. He always got his stuff sold. So again, word of mouth and having a good PR with people helps quite a bit. I've already alluded to the point on the left there, ethnicity level. But then on the other hand there, the level of ethnicity, and I think I have made, I have alluded to it quite a few times now, is that the environment and the economic conditions and social conditions do have an influence on how much ethnicity there is in somebody. And therefore, you tailor your marketing strategy based on who you're dealing with. The point is, maybe there's a bit of redundancy here, but it's your take-home message is that if there's lower level of ethnicity, that means ethnicity has been diluted over time, 2, 3, 4 generations, then mainstream marketing will work. Whereas if it's a brand new person coming in for the first time, then ethnic marketing strategies do work. Let me make the point here, some of these companies like electronic gadgets or even vehicle sales and all that, they're already setting separate budgets to market to ethnic minorities. They are not lumping everybody together. So it's a reality. You've got to set ethnic markets separately. So to launch ethnic marketing, you do what you have to do, and you still ask yourself, if I ask these people these questions, what are they going to respond to? How are they going to respond? But to plan your marketing strategy, use the 3 I's, which are indicated in the next 3 slides or the next slide. Identify the communities that the target group comprises, and find out about their values and beliefs, and then who in there can you make friends with? Who in there can you make a contact, a liaison person? Is it a preacher? Is it a community leader? Is it one of the marketers, one of the sellers of produce in there? Who will you identify to deal with? And this particular example is about marketing to African Americans and using the 3 I's that we just went through. And so these core values, and I won't read everything here, were identified so that African Americans do have elements of contiguous African cultures, the social aspect, the extended family, the idea that orally transmitted information is better than one you're reading. It's better to talk. People like to talk in Africa more than having to hear it through radio or through reading. And then because of that element of social aspect, somebody who is giving back something to the community is highly valued, okay? And then appreciating their culture and seeing the good and the bad and being assertive and speaking up. All those things. That was found out, and I didn't find this out myself. I read about it, and somebody must have done the necessary research. But those are the core values of this African American group. So secondly, the personal marketing strategies. Do not assume anything. Do not be fake. Do not be pretentious. Tell it like it is. Let them be the judge in the final analysis. And then be sensitive about your message. And then identify who amongst the African American group can be your representatives or your liaisons. And then encourage them to ask questions about your programs, and that they are being aggressive doesn't mean they are being negative or being harsh or anything like that. It's their way of doing it. So again, identify the strategies that work best for you. So when you establish ethnic markets, you identify the group, and even within the group, you may want to target a certain group. The midlifers, the 24 to 55, is a group, could be a group within a group. And I'll take the African Americans again. What I read was the biggest spenders are between the ages of 25 and 45 or something like that. What is it that you want to sell to them? And what are they buying most? And then, what are the potential production crops for local entry? Once you've done that, then you start understanding the shopping patterns of your group. What's the shopping frequency like? How often do they go shopping? Do they go to one store or to several of them? And then, are they willing to go more than 10 miles? Are they willing to go up to 20 miles? Or do they want something right next to them? And then I have the second question there. Is there a willingness to pay ethnic produce premiums? First of all, as producers, and I'll call you small producers, your costs of production are way above the larger producers. And therefore, you have to charge more for your labor, for your transport, for your inputs to make ends meet. So don't be shy about asking for more money for your produce. And like I said, don't assume these immigrants don't want to pay or don't have the money. They have the willingness to pay for a product they want. The questions we just asked in the previous slide are kind of answered here. There was a research that was done in Maryland which showed that, which was researching how ethnic markets behave in a particular group. And they found that half of them shop once a week, and that 75% of them shop in more than one store. I would have fitted in that category because I do know that if I want to get white maize, which I like, I'll get it in a Mexican store. But that if I want to get sweet potatoes and hot pepper and stuff like that of a certain kind, I'm going to go to an Indian shop. So I do go to 2 or 3 different places. And you see down there that people earning less than, that sign is for less than $60,000 per annum, per year, are willing to pay more. Indeed, what they found out was that people earning more than that were actually unwilling to pay more. And the assumption or the conclusion they had was that people who are earning way more than that prefer to go to eat out anyways. They're not interested in buying to cook for themselves. They'd rather not pay that much and pay to eat outside. And then the ethnic produce buyers want to live within 20 miles of their ethnic produce stores. That's another thing they found. So armed with this kind of information, then you can start getting on to the next step. I have shown somebody there holding flowers of one cucurbit plant. I don't know which cucurbit plant, but I do think you all know that that's a delicacy in itself. Flowers, these flowers, when cooked and sauteed, they are a delicacy. Another ethnic crop that is a potential source of income for you. Again, still in Maryland, they did an experiment where they wanted to see what it would be like to grow and sell eggplant. Now, eggplants are not all created equal. You see the basket down there, bottom right. They come in various shapes, sizes, and colors. And indeed, like for the very long one, the Oriental market loves that one. So it all depends who you are selling to. The variegated one is also liked by somebody. Indeed, the other day I went to visit a Nigerian friend of mine, And there was this golf-size fruit. And at first I couldn't tell what that was. He just told me, this is an eggplant. And I said, no, that's not what I know of as an eggplant. He just got it off the plant and started eating it. And yeah, that's what they like. The Nigerians like that. They can't have enough of that. But anyhow, again, maybe it's a bit of redundancy here, but you can see what they found out. And the one thing they emphasized was that for us small-scale producers, working for the ethnic market is very suited to us as opposed to big operations. Big operations don't want to go there out there and start growing 50 acres of okra. They don't want to do that. I haven't even seen that much of acreage, but I've seen 5, 2, 3 acres of this and that. So we are better. The we is the small acreage people. We are better suited to serve the ethnic markets. In any case, the ethnic markets are not that large in any one place. So that's why the larger farms are not doing this. And then you have outlets for marketing, farmers markets, roadside stands, or even using established markets already. And so in the Maryland experiment, they did find that ethnic markets is some work. It's not something you just start today and tomorrow you have the answer. You have to do a little bit of research. There are very few auction markets for ethnic products, and they did find out that food chain stores are the better outlets. As long as you bring in your produce and it is priced in English and in Espanol, if that is what it is, if that's what the market is, as long as it's priced in dual language, it'll go. It'll be going. One of the farmers here in Kankakee started growing tomatillo, just like, let me try. And the first year, those things would be gone in like 10 minutes. Next year, he doubled or trebled his production. And he says even in the 4th year of tomatillo production, he cannot have enough, and everything is bought within the first hour. Everybody rushes to him within the first hour, and they're all gone. The tomatillos are all gone. So that's something. There's always the issue of liability insurance, and that's with any type of produce, which is indicated over there. And then when it comes to networking, you need that data bank so that you know who it is that is buying from you and where they are and who you can advertise through. Maybe you want to throw a party. Again, I have an example of Janet, who is from Kenya. She's in Bloomington. She is growing ethnic foods, and she knows that we want those things. And what she does once in a while is just to call us to her house and out there in the summer and have all these different dishes. She'll even have competitions. I want you to tell me what that is made of, what's that made of. There's one nobody ever gets the answer. Vegetables made with sweet potato leaves. Very tasty. Nobody knows that they could be used as a vegetable, and nobody ever guesses that one. But she always prepares it differently, so it always catches us. And by doing that, we know that that is available. She markets herself that way, and she's got our email so that when the sweet potatoes are at their best, she will send us the email and say, you know what, I got this, I got that, and I got this. So it's always nice to have your database. Obvious points here. By growing and selling specialty value-added foods and all that, you can increase the farm revenue, but you need to know how to obtain and retain your customers and find out consumer preferences. We've already talked about this. And we'd like to satisfy the demographic need as much as possible and make some money, of course. So what are the guidelines then to developing an ethnic market? They're listed over here. Cannot be said any better. You have to cultivate a relationship. I think that goes without saying. You've got to talk to people, whether they're the ones that are the suppliers of your seedlings or your seed, who is cooking, the chef who is cooking food, and some of these end users who are just consumers coming to you. And then a business plan is always a good thing. Some people don't do these business plans, but it's always recommended to go with a business plan, and it's good business practice in itself. It is a guide. Some farmers actually say without a business plan, without a plan, there is no plan. Some people will say that, but some people do it anyways. And when you start selling your product, use easy language. Just be easy with it when you communicate. Don't be overly complicated. There's a lady that I know. She is in North Carolina, and she has started growing what she's calling baby ginger. And baby ginger, she says, it's organic, it's a turmeric, and it's got all those good qualities. But she says it's a culinary delight in itself. But beyond that, it has this pink blush. It's got some pinkness out of it. I've never seen one like it before, so even me, it caught my eye. And then, because it's a baby ginger, it hasn't gotten on to the mature stage where you have all that fibrous stuff. Therefore, as a baby ginger, you can sell it for fresh eating. It can be pickled. It can be refrigerated for a short time. And it can be sliced and chopped to freeze. And yes, she says it can increase the income in your farm if you start growing it. She's been doing this for 4 to 5 years. In fact, if you go out and Google East Branch ginger, you'll see what she's growing. The other day I wanted to grow some around here in the office, and it was like end of December, so I wanted some for spring. And she said, forget it, you have to call me next year. Everything is way gone. I have a waiting list. People can't have enough of it. And so the last 2 points there, they're self-explanatory. I don't have to talk about this. So you've identified your market. You've identified what you want to grow. Then what? You have to get ready, right? And you do your research and what is the potential use of the crop. Like I just read about East Branch ginger, their baby ginger. How do they market that? What do they want to do with it? And what kinds of varieties are you going to grow? We just found out, or just said a while ago, that eggplant is not all created equal. Which one are you going to pick on to, concentrate on? And then your packaging and presentation matters a whole lot. And yes, because you'll be doing your research about this particular plant, you need to know how to grow it. That's agronomy. The agronomic information is important to know what soil conditions and watering and pests, problems and all that. All those things you need to know. And then you ask yourself, if you're going to grow whatever you're growing, we need a processing facility. You need to put that in your plan. Where will you be getting your seed? And get it at wholesale price, the bulk seed seller? Or will you go with transplant sales? With East Branch ginger, you need to get at least your initial stock from them, because it's not around here. I haven't seen it here. It's a brand new variety that is causing a lot of interest in consumers. And then we always advise, especially with us, the best way to fail is to start big. So you always want to start small, study the situation your first year. If you can do a half acre of anything, next year you can do 2 acres. And you scale up. And then always do your PR. Maybe you give your samples. Ask those people who are going to be consuming what you are producing whether they like it in the first place. And then the records that you keep are the basis on which you determine your price. And in any case, it's good business sense to keep records, due diligence, and all that. And then do your marketing and your PR. The picture that I have here says sweet corn and kalaloo. Being a small farms educator, somebody from Jamaica once walked up to me and I said, do you know where I could buy kalaloo? And first of all, I said, what the heck is kalaloo? I have never heard of kalaloo in my life. He said, you're from Africa, you should know kalaloo. I said, even if it's there, it's not by that name. So I did my research only to find that pigweed is actually what they call kalaloo in Jamaica. So it's something that is a delicacy back in Kenya, and indeed Janet in Bloomington sells pigweed, which is for us a weed, but it is a delicacy to some of us. So I thought I would share that with you. So kalaloo is a type of amaranthus, so to speak, or pigweed. Okay? Still continuing here and making your decisions. Always, in any venture, these ventures of ours of growing stuff, always find your market first before you grow. Always. We always advise that. Because you could talk to yourself and not know what to do with your 5 acres of whatever you've grown because you didn't do your homework ahead of time. So that's like a no-brainer here. Okay? And then the marketing decisions there, the 4 P's of product, place, promotion, and pricing have to be done. I'm not a great economist here, but I know that you have to do all those things. And then I have a little cartoon there showing things that it's probably not legible in your small print there, but the blue circle says high market demand. Look for the highest demand. Once you found out that, then in the green circle it says look for the lowest competition. Try to identify if that high demand item has low competition. And then, does it have a high income potential? That's what the pink circle is saying. And then your ideal profitable niche will have been established where the 3 circles intersect in the center there. That's what the chart is saying, and I thought I would go through that. And it is better indicated in the next slide, that explanation, probably. You're still trying to establish your market here, who is most likely to buy it, how many people are in that group. Now, how do you go about finding how many people are in a group? One way is just to check on census data, if you can get a hold of it. And the other way is to use Market Maker, which is and I'll be talking about what Market Maker in a little while. Market Maker helps buyers find sellers, and the other way around. It also helps sellers find buyers. So both groups register with Market Maker, and they find each other that way. And the one thing that Market Maker can also tell you is how to find a niche. It's been demonstrated to me that if you wanted to find Indians earning between $60,000 and $100,000 annual income in a place like Chicago, Naperville, or wherever, it can show you the earning potential if that's what you want to target. And so, yeah, this is probably the slide I was referring to regarding those 3 circles that I was talking about. What's your competition? What's the trend? What's the consumer demand? Is it high or low? What's the expected price? right? If you sell it at the lowest price, are you still making a little bit of a profit? And then how much do you expect to be selling? One time, Kyle, who is the person organizing all these small farm webinars, he grew garlic last year or the year before, and he called me to say, I have a whole lot of garlic. Well, it was for research, so I can't say he grew it without having to find the market first. But he had so much of it and called me, what do we do with all this garlic? And out of the blue, I just went to the internet, and I know that people in India like garlic a whole lot. And so I went to addresses of vendors or sellers of produce in Devon Street, which is in Chicago, and I just picked on one store. And believe it or not, he was willing to take this garlic, but he started asking me questions. Now, it wasn't my crop because he said, how much do you have? I didn't know the answer. Is this a one-time sale, or will you be selling throughout the season? And again, I'll get back to you. I'm not quite sure. I'll ask again. And then, what's your price? Again, I wasn't prepared. So you got to be prepared with all these questions. So yeah, there's some homework to do even when you're looking for the market. And then the outlets can be either retail stores or restaurants. Those are very nice restaurants. Those are very nice outlets right there. Now I have a picture of horseradish at the bottom there. This is, I think, a particularly taste flavorful one that gives you that kick because I think it makes wasabi, which is popular with some people. And I just put that picture there for that reason, just to talk about it. When you talk to people, potential buyers, and I think when you're a farmer, a grower, don't shy out. Walk to any chef and say, I have this for sale. You're going to buy it. Do also your research. I am going to tell you about this one farmer in Livingston County, which is next to Kankakee County. And he found that the woodland next to his farm had so much of stinging nettle. Now, stinging nettle is a delicacy back where I come from. But over here, I didn't even know anybody would be interested in it. But you know what he did? He started reading, and then as he took his produce to Chicago, he started talking to chefs. And lo and behold, this chef from Lebanon said, you sure you have stinging nettle? And he said, yeah, check my hands. This is alkaloids that have done this to my hands. Now, this chef has a group of customers in the month of May who can't wait for the delicacy that's made with stinging nettle. Every morning is brought in fresh. He pays top dollar for it, but his customers also pay top dollar for that food. We're talking about stinging nettle. Everybody knows stinging nettle. So look, talk to people every opportunity with multiple markets, and then with the diversity of what you're producing. It's a kind of insurance. That word insurance is in quotes. It's your backup. If one item fails or if one market fails, you always have a backup. So that insurance word is in quotes. Then if you're processing and you are making a product, make sure that when you do the labeling, you do proper research as per rules and regulations. You cannot just make that ketchup and stick that ketchup word and start selling. The ingredients and all that have got to be on that as per your local as well as state and, I don't know, federal regulations. You have to make sure that you do that. And then let that label not cost you too much, make it catchy and all that. Again, this is a little bit of redundancy, but if you go to the advertisement point there, the point I want to make there is that if it is Hispanic people you are targeting, use their radio and let somebody in their language advertise your product. Seek out their magazines, their newspapers, their media. those types of things, and use them quite a bit. And then the last point there about starting small and growing, there's a point there saying do not flood the market. If you grow too much and you flood the market, then the demand will go low, and then you will not get your top dollar. You won't get your best profits. So monitor production. The one farmer who has been growing tomatillos monitors what his market is like. And he wants to keep it that way. The demand is high, and he gets some money from tomatillos as well as other things. He never floods the market. Then as we do what we are doing, do not forget that there are other niche markets like the organic market. If you look the first point there, organic produce has been growing in the last 20 years at the rate of 15 to 20%. As people value health more and more, they are looking out for health food markets. Look out for those Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, those types of people. And even since this hype is catching on, even Super Walmart now have sections with organic produce. You know, I couldn't believe they would be doing that, but they are doing it. But that's the movement. So keep up with the movement. And then last point there, don't claim to be organic until you get satisfied. That's the point I'm making over there. And then I won't say much about risk management. Are you going to have an insurance in case of crop failure? Are you going to diversify in case of one crop failing and the other one succeeding? And then if you're going to grow, like, say, fruits, remember, are long term. There is this interest in growing ginseng. Ginseng is of heavy demand with the Chinese. But remember, if you start growing it now, this is 2014, your first harvest will be in 2020. Be patient. And also cope with the deer eating some of them and all that, and even theft, vandalism. It's growing out there in the woods. And then I hope you recognize at the bottom right-hand there that is tomatillo. That's what one of the farmers here has not been growing enough of. Okay. Develop an easily understandable concept. And I have two examples here. I mean, you can read everything here. When you start advertising or branding your item, go and encompass what those people value and recognize and understand. And I'll give you examples of some failures of marketing, and nothing to do with food, but it's marketing in any case. All of you are familiar with a nice little car that was manufactured way back. It was called Chevy Nova. Tiny little car, very economical, nice looking, good for a third world country. Let's put it that way. And one of your third world countries here is Mexico. So they go there, and a year goes by, and this car is not selling. Those of you that know a little bit of Espanol like me know that the word va, V-A, means go. So if you have Chevy no va, this is Chevy no go, and you can understand why it's not selling in Mexico. They should have done their research and had somebody tell them, you know what, call it Nova there. We know it means Nova here means new, so it's new Chevy. But over there, they were reading Chevy Nova. You know what that means. Another example. Pepsi Cola decided to break into the Vietnamese market in, you know where Vietnam is. And the slogan that was catchy in America was wake up to the new, or get alive with the new generation. Now we know what's over here, get alive with the new, we know what that means. Get excited, become vigorous, and whatever, all those things. Over in Vietnam, the first question was, who is it that could become alive? Got to be somebody who is dead. I ain't drinking this soda if that's going to join me with my ancestors. No way. So they didn't drink it. Again, there was no research done ahead of time. But this was a mistake by Americans then, because being a superpower and being so dominant in the world, they assumed that anybody could take on their slogan. So use simple, straightforward tagline. You see that one? That is relevant, that is understandable, that is, how shall I say, relevant to those people. Okay. So Market Maker, and you can Google this out. Market Maker has one of the largest collections of sellers and buyers and other information in the United States. And so popular it is now being adopted in India. The Chinese are already considering it, and in Africa it might be going there very soon. It's user-friendly. You go in there and you start getting hits, and I mean good hits, well, regarding your produce. So you go there and check it out yourselves, because it's a good one to have and to access even ethnic markets, even these niche markets. And that's the website for it, the link. You go ahead and it's very easy to get into and learn about, and there's always, if you have questions, there's a person who can help you out. And in kind of a summary, this is my summary slide, that niche and ethnic markets are the future mainstream markets. If you're getting so many people coming up, you better be prepared. And yes, ethnic markets can be profitable, and yeah, if it's not profitable, you don't even do it in the first place. There's a high purchasing power because these people are interested in their traditional cuisine. They are becoming bigger markets. They are concentrated markets, and they're growing all the time. But you want to make sure that when you grow what you grow, you don't start glutting the market. It may be a loss to you now in the end. I have some references there for you if you want to read more. I did read quite a few of these myself. Interesting reading. But as I leave, I do also want to tell you that we've been talking quite a whole lot about specialty crops, vegetables and fruits. But ethnic markets are also served with animal products. Indeed, like the one bottom right-hand corner, that would be the goat. The goat is eaten mostly by foreigners. Americans, Native Americans or white Americans, they're starting to eat goat meat because of its goodnesses. It's got less fat and all those good things. But it's mainly for the Hispanic people, Africans from Africa, people from India, quite a number of people who are Muslims, and people from Spain. So those people eat a whole lot of goats. And then people from the Middle East, they like lamb quite a bit. And then there are people like in Chicago, they want to see a live chicken. They will choose a chicken, that's the one I want, and they want to see it processed right there. How fresher could that be? That's the best freshness. So there are people that are being served even with animal products. I wanted to make sure that I let you know that. But my last slide here just simply says, which you don't have these two slides, but this slide just simply tells you you can do it too. And the picture I have there, I forget what the other one is, but what you see in the foreground is okra, and okra can be green or can be purple. Again, there's a difference in demand depending on the color and the quality. Stuff like that. And I have many more examples, but I see that I'm on the hour. I just in leaving you here, Chenopodium quinoa, Quinoa, is what we call lamb's quarters. It's a weed. Did you know that it was a cuisine? Even here locally, there is a cuisine for some people. In South America, it's a delicacy. The seeds of it are actually used to make bread. And I told you about the man from Missouri who has a publication in ATTRA, A-T-T-R-A, who is talking about miniature or baby vegetables. Again, those are increasing in demand. We in Illinois, we have a list of unique fruits that you can grow. You got some very unique fruits that can be grown here. The same person who is doing stinging nettle, he does pawpaw and one other fruit. I forget which one it is, but it is kind of a unique fruit. So there are all sorts of opportunities out there. You just need to keep your eyes and ears open, talk to people, and that's it from me for now. I thank everyone for your attention, and yeah, let me see if I can put my email here so that if you have a question, you can always send it to me or go to the local extension office and ask them. And I thank you very much for your audience. Thank you. Oh, okay. Thank Baker Creek, evergreen seeds. Oh, I see. Sources of those are merchants of seeds. Okay, Evergreen and Baker Creek. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
James, are you still on? There was a question about how to identify the correct plant or variety that somebody might want.
Okay. So you're talking about like this lady who said a flavorful pepper. How do we identify? You'd have to go to them and they would have to show you the actual plant they are talking about. Or if they have the identity already, they can tell you the name and you can do your research. That's the best way I can answer that one.
Peruvian pepper, they were trying to find the correct variety. I will share from my personal experience. My husband's from Trinidad, and it is very difficult sometimes to find the exact variety and so forth that you want to grow. And even if you know how to import the seeds from other countries, oftentimes that's not allowed. They need to be certified seed to bring them in order to grow. So you can't just have somebody ship you seeds in an envelope to get the right variety or the correct plant that wants to be grown. So they can be difficult.
And yes, when I give the Kenyan example of the women in Minnesota, Minneapolis, they had to apply to USDA to get a permit, quarantine permit, because then when you're bringing in something new, who knows what else you might be bringing in. Yes, you cannot bring it. You cannot go abroad and bring it in a seed packet. That's illegal. But through application, you can get your request granted.
Right. As you indicated, there are seed banks. Usually those are, the seed banks in the U.S. are dealing more with heirloom varieties and so forth, but it's always worth checking with them and just see if by chance they would have them. There are some international research institutes like the Asian Vegetable Institute, and that might be a possibility. They might be able to more easily send certified seed. So wish I could be more helpful than that.
Yeah, and also if you're invited to some of these events, let's say there's a Hispanic celebration, and you're a grower, go and find out what's going on in there. Ask what is being eaten there and whether it's available. Those are other places to find out what is needed and where it can come from. And thank you, Ellen. Thank you.